All right. Is this the last Friday night extravaganza? Next week is Saturday night at 8 o'clock.
Next week is Saturday, then I think it's back to Wednesdays.
Back to Wednesday. You think they're going to say, well, Saturday night at 8 o'clock is a time slot too, like Friday night at 10, so we're not going to try there. Saturday night at 8 o'clock is prime time. Saturday night at 8 o'clock, back in the day, was the home of the highest rated television program on television. That was the All in the Family slot, Saturday night at 8 o'clock. The Murderer's Row of comedy.
Yes, however, viewing habits have changed since Norman Lear was the king of television.
Yeah, they've all gone down because the shows aren't as good as they used to be. But I'm just saying, they can't say this is an off-brand time slot. Saturday night at 8 o'clock is as prime time as you can fucking get. For heaven's sake.
I gotta hope they try harder at 8 o'clock than they did here at 10 o'clock. This was, I'm gonna say it here, this was the worst episode of AEW Dynamite ever. I fell asleep. I tried to watch it live. I fell asleep in the middle of the Orange Cassidy match. And then the next day, this morning, I had to wake up and watch the rest of the show. What a miserable episode of Dynamite.
Well, but now, come on. See, here's the thing. It was the worst episode because not only was there nothing good, which is standard, but there wasn't anything really outrageously bad also. It was just less of the same thing as they usually do.
This episode was a great example of all the things wrong with Dynamite. Because for the first time, even though they're all on the show every week, for the first time this week in a while, I thought about the fact, goddamn, every match, every segment, multiple factions.
Yeah.
It's nonstop. It's people you don't even care about. It's people you don't even know how they met.
They've got the faction of job guys. It's like if Lawler had got to Memphis TV one morning and said, "Hey, Robert Reed, Ken Raper, let's say, who else can we get?
Jim Jameson.
Jim Jameson. Yeah. Come on over here. Radford Tyndall. Come on over. You guys are a group now." They started out with the MMA fight. It's hard to fuck up an MMA fight in wrestling when one of the guys in it is an MMA fighter, but they managed to do this. And I'm not even gonna be fucking just hard on them this week, and I'm not gonna just blister everybody. I'm just gonna laugh at this point because yes, Jake Hagar is an MMA fighter. Why would any booker not wanting to lay a complete shit-encrusted turd on their television program book Wardlow to be in an MMA fight with an MMA fighter? He's green. He can't hardly still wrestle yet. This is something that a fan would think is a great idea, but an experienced booker would instantly realize that it may be a great idea to put on paper, but the match is going to suck because they can't do it. And this was an example of it. The first part was great. They did the UF style walk-ins, the referee checking them out, the Vaseline, the fight intros from Mr. Sunshine, Justin Roberts. Everybody was being serious.
It wasn't a ring. For anyone who hasn't seen this, they did it in a cage. I don't know if it was an actual octagon because UFC owns the patent, I guess it would be, on having an octagon-shaped
No, it was a
fighting
cage.
surface. It was just a cage, but it wasn't over the ring. It was like a separate day they taped this. But it was an actual... it looked like if you were watching Bellator on TV or something. It kind of had that look.
And that's fine. That should be. If you're going to do something, you should make it as legitimate as possible. And they did all of that with the walkout and the intros. And then the bell rang. And actually the first 2 minutes where they danced and felt each other out and threw a few jabs, that was pretty good too. Because they didn't have to actually touch.
That was the best part of the whole show.
That's the best part, yes.
The whole show, that was the best part.
They had built anticipation. Okay, these two big hosses, that's what the mark in the booking chair would think. Wow, it's going to be great. These two big hosses, and they built anticipation, but they couldn't capitalize because, let's face it, right now, Jake Hagar, I think we can say, is where he's going to be. He's been in the business long enough that he ain't going to get any better. he's got a size and some presence, and he's got the legit background, and you can use him as an enforcer, as a stooge, as a bodyguard, as a tag team partner, whatever. But in a single match, he's awkward as fuck, and he's not smooth by any means, and his shit does not look that good, and he doesn't have a great grip on psychology for what he ought to be doing when. Wardlow has a ton of potential. I think he looks physically even better. He seems like he's picking up professional wrestling much quicker and better than Hagar does, because I assume we've never seen Wardlow before, a year and a half ago. I assume he's fairly fresh.
And I hate to say because it kind of spoils the finish, but we'll get there. But to your point, because I couldn't agree anymore, I don't think anyone is ever excited about Jake Hagar. There's a place on the card for a good hand if you have a good hand. I'm not saying he is or isn't. But,
yeah, and also he had the pretty wife. If they brought the pretty wife out, it'd be easier to look at him. But
well, she wasn't just pretty. She was actually effective as kind of being a heel, bitchy wife. She was good. And then we never saw her again, kind of like a female Alex Abrahantes, but we'll talk about that later. But what I was going to say is Jake Hagar, like you said, if you're going to use him, the way the Inner Circle have used him, I'm going to guess that's almost as good as you can use him, which is to kind of make him almost like a non-entity who's their badass. But his promos aren't especially good. His in-ring work isn't especially good. And I don't think anyone is going out of their way to pay to see him or that he has a bigger future. We've seen him at his peak. I didn't like the idea they had Wardlow lose to him, even with the way he lost, even with that, hey, we watched Bret Hart versus Steve Austin, we're going to copy this. Even with, in this case, even with was the worst part. Even with the way they had him lose, that was the worst part of it, because it's a completely different situation, and he shouldn't have lost that way. He shouldn't have lost, but he definitely shouldn't have lost that way. Anyway, point is 3 rounds, 5-minute rounds. For the first 2 minutes, they felt out, they danced, they jabbed. Hagar got one straight jab in. At one point, Wardlow gut-wrenched Hagar and just tossed him, and then Hagar got right back up and double-legged him and let him back up. And right there, that's about as far as they needed to go, because then Hagar starts throwing the leg kicks, but Wardlow sells them. And you don't sell the leg kicks unless it's a big leg kick, and these weren't. He's selling them so you can, okay, now they're working. And then with a minute left of the first round, they started punching, and it was terrible. Phony punches, slow-mo punches, rotten punches. They were trading like two drunks in a wading pool. And it was sloppy, and it didn't look like a fight or like wrestling. It didn't look like anything. It looked like two guys trying not to hurt each other. It's not a great match idea if they can't work it. And I mean, you can go down the list of all the MMA guys or the high-level amateur wrestlers or the old shooters like a Billy Robinson or any people that could have done this, that could work either legit pro wrestling style or work MMA style. It would be snug. It would be tight. It would be a lot of grappling, not many strikes, especially not to the face, because those are the hardest to work. But you could have guys that know how to work a contest, just not these two. It made both of them look like klutzes. And that's not the job of a good booker, to make your talent look like klutzes. At one point, Wardlow's punches were destroying Hagar's elbows because he wasn't anywhere near his fucking head. Then Wardlow popped up all of a sudden and did a Hurricane Rana in the middle of an MMA fight. And Hagar, after Wardlow's leg slipped off of Hagar's head, because he's too big to be doing that anyway. And why would you do it in an MMA fight if you can hit the goddamn high C in an operatic concerto, but you're in the middle of singing a Rolling Stones song? You probably wouldn't hit that note. And Hagar just he lost his legs off of his neck, so he just fucking did a forward roll with it like 2 seconds later. And then within seconds, Hagar did a sloppy rock bottom on Wardlow and kept the triangle and just choked him out flat. Just choked him out. Boom, done. The big man. Ronnie Garvin was a high-level enough amateur wrestler that he could take guys like Hawk or Big Bubba Rogers
and hold them down and ride them and not let them up, and they couldn't do anything about it. But he didn't do it on camera in front of the people. He did it in the locker room for the amusement of the boys. You don't fucking take a guy like Wardlow down, immobilize him, choke him out, and leave him laying there, even if you're another big guy. Between the sloppy work in this and the finish, which was flat and boring to begin with, but also totally the wrong thing to do with poor old Wardlow, this showed everybody to their worst advantage. And then AEW can't even not have an afterbirth in a match that's not a pro wrestling match. They have an MMA fight and have an afterbirth. Spears and Jericho jump in. They had a horrible brawl. MJF runs in and gets fucking Jericho's elbow and gets the armbar and has Jericho tapping. Because the armbar, of course, is his finish and Jericho's arm is injured. Remember when MJF was a wrestler? He wrestled at least 3 singles matches on AEW television since they went on the air in September of 2019. At least 3.
Yeah.
And then Dean Malenko comes in and MJF decks him. That's when they talk about Dean having Parkinson's. But did you know they're listening immediately? All the referees were in because there's a 60-year-old guy with Parkinson's. Help him. All the referees come in. Sammy Guevara came in. There was a big comeback he made. Everybody was running around. It looked like a little more chaos. They're listening, but doesn't have to be chaos after every match, especially when the match stinks. But your final thoughts on what they were trying to do here?
I was actually really into it, like you said, the first couple of minutes. Because I was really genuinely curious how they're going to do this. I thought, wow, if this works, it really says something. You know, it's kind of like the early days of wrestling. If we start working MMA and it works, if you can film it and it looks right, if it looks good enough to stop an MMA fan when they're flipping channels,
yeah,
whatever it is. And I'm watching the first few minutes with that in mind. And I'm like, you know, this kind of, it's working.
And that
so
was
far.
kind of the theory behind the Sinclair era of Ring of Honor is get the MMA fans because nobody's watching wrestling these days.
So,
but those guys actually trained in it and could work some of it.
In the end, I didn't think it worked. Like you said, MJF never having singles matches to go to the post-match. Him and Sammy, you know, they've done an okay job of making you want to see that match, but it's going to be like everything else in AEW. They have a match, and either they never wrestle again, or it takes a while, or like, it just doesn't make any sense what they do. I was such a fan of MJF. Now I don't stop if I see him anymore. They've overexposed him, putting him in all this crap. Jericho means nothing to me. And all of his promos are always good, but they're always about the same people, and we don't care about this shit anymore because it's already great. And he gets heat, and then they immediately take all the heat off him right away the next week. It happens time and time again. And I know he's a good promo, and people instantly hate him again. But how many times does he have to be treated like a jerk off before you say this guy's a jerk off? I don't see him as a legitimate threat to anybody. Him and Cody, that was a blood feud, and then they had their match, and then everyone just moved on. Everyone just moved on with their life. He hasn't really done anything impactful since. With all that said, this was the best segment on the show. I thought this was the highlight of the whole episode. Yeah.
Actually, I'm going to disagree with you. I'm going to tell you what I liked the most, even though it didn't make any sense in context. But